have some new data whenever it comes to the used car market, and while the data isn't exactly good, I do think that it shows us a trend that we should expect to see for the rest of 2025 in the used car market. And if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, then this probably isn't a surprise, but it's still a bit disheartening to see. Wholesale used vehicle values were higher in June compared to May, with the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index increasing to 208.5, which represents a 6.3% year-over-year increase and a 1.6% increase from May. This is not good, and it's actually one of the largest year-over-year increases that we have seen in a very long time, and is actually the highest level that the Manheim Used Vehicle Value Index has reached since October of 2023. Now, according to Jeremy Robb, Senior Director of Economic and Industry Insights at Cox Automotive, wholesale appreciation trends have been more volatile over Q2 as tariffs really impacted new sales and supply, which impacted the used marketplace as well. Now, MMR retention was at 99.2%, which means that technically speaking, the cars that were sold at wholesale were sold at a discount. Now, as we know, MMR retention is a metric to keep track of how much cars are selling for in relation to their MMR value. An MMR retention of 100% means that cars are selling for their true MMR value, while above 100% means they're selling for above, and below means they're selling for a discount. So in this case, at 99.2, it means that cars were sold for a discount in the month of June, which is probably in part driven by the fact that June, especially the end of June, was end of month, end of quarter, which is an aggressive sales period for car dealerships and car sellers. The average daily sales conversion rate rose to 57.8%, which was higher from the previous month and was also higher than what we typically see this time of year. Now, when it comes to individual vehicle segments, the data really doesn't look good. And compact cars are the only type of vehicle that really didn't see a whole lot of movement. They saw a 0.1% decline over the last year, which is actually shocking considering the fact that whenever we look at the other data, things really don't look great. Now, the total market saw a 6.3% increase, which is a lot, but the vehicle segment that saw the largest increase was actually electric vehicles, which is quite shocking. They saw a 12.1% year-over-year increase, which is significant, followed by luxury vehicles, which saw an 8.8% increase, and SUVs and crossovers were next with a 6% increase, followed by both midsize and pickups, which saw a 2.8% increase. Non-EVs were at 5.6%. So you can see that overwhelmingly, vehicle segments are seeing price increases, not price declines, of course, with the exception of compact cars. This means that if you are someone who's buying a car today, theoretically speaking, you should expect to spend more on that car than what you would have spent this time last year. Now, obviously, in execution, that isn't always the case, but based off of wholesale prices, that is where prices are trending. Now, remember, this is wholesale vehicle statistics. So this isn't going to be the vehicles that you find at your local dealership. Instead, it's going to be the vehicles that dealers buy, the wholesale level. And so as a result, the data that we see here isn't necessarily indicative of exactly what we're going to see on the used vehicle level. It does oftentimes show us a trend of what we can expect in the coming months, because as dealers and vehicle buyers are having to spend more on their cars, so do we whenever we buy the vehicles from them. Over here at Car Guru's Used Vehicle Value Index, now this is used vehicles, not necessarily wholesale vehicles, so it is a slightly different metric than what we just reviewed. You can see here that I have taken the chart and I have honed it into July 1st, 2024 to July 1st, 2025. And you can see that car prices aren't looking good. I mean, for the first time, we are seeing that increase year over year. And basically all of the price declines that we saw in the second half of 2024 have been lost, and they've been lost pretty quickly, seeing the bulk of an increase coming at the end of April, but then prices just kind of slowly going up since then. Now, as to not be too pessimistic and also not misleading, we have to look at this graph from a long-term perspective. So short-term, car prices have absolutely gone up. That is not a good thing, and you can see that represented right here. But long-term, car prices are still down from the highs that we saw in like 2021 and 2022. You can see, for example, that used vehicle value index was sitting at around $32,000 in August and July of 2022, but today it's sitting closer to that $28,000 mark. So we've seen quite a big decrease over the last few years. In fact, according to Car Gurus, it's 12.72% over the course of this chart. But you can absolutely see that short-term car prices absolutely have gone up, and they probably will continue to go up for the rest of 2025. If we scroll down to individual vehicle segments, you can see that all of them are seeing price increases with the exception of vans. And you are beginning to see more and more vehicle segments seeing that year-over-year data shift to seeing appreciation instead of depreciation, which is obviously not good for a vehicle buyer. And if we scroll down to individual makes and models, it is still a bit of a mixed bag. We do still see some different vehicles that are seeing price declines, but for the most part, the majority are seeing price increases, with brands like Chrysler, Bentley, and Alfa Romeo seeing pretty significant declines, while other brands like Acura, oddly enough Polestar, and Toyota seeing price increases. But one thing that I always say in these videos is that we can talk all day long about what cars are worth or even what cars are being listed for, but at the end of the day, the real question is, are people buying these vehicles at these prices? How long are cars sitting on dealership lots for? How frequently are they having to be discounted before they're sold? And what is the actual price that car buyers are buying vehicles at? And for that, I want to take a look at a platform like cars.com, which allows for you to filter the different search results. In my case, I like to filter them to kind of mimic that 3-year-old index. And what I have found by looking at cars.com is that discounts are a bit underwhelming, and the amount of time that cars are sitting on dealership lots is getting longer and longer. For example, we have this 2022 Jeep Grand Cherokee, which has 34,312 miles, and it's listed for $29,944. This car has been listed for only 20 days, so it isn't a significant amount of time, but it has only been reduced in price by $795. We look at this 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. This has 47,692 miles and is listed for $27,152. This is a fairly nice standard SUV, and while this car has been listed for 125 days, significantly longer than the previous vehicle that we looked at, you can see that it's only seen $559 in total price reductions and even saw a pretty steep price increase not too long ago. We have this 2023 Jeep Wrangler Sport, which has 32,410 miles. This car is listed for $31,495, and this car has been listed for 15 days and has seen $500 in price reductions. This Ram right here is probably the biggest loser of all of the vehicles that I looked at for this video. You can see that it's a 2022, it has 73,000 miles, and it's listed for $33,484. And this car has been listed for a whopping 129 days, and it's seen $5,598 in price reductions. While these next two examples, which is a 2025 Mazda CX-5 Carbon Edition, which is listed for $30,500, it's been only listed for 33 days and has seen $1,500 in price reductions. While this 2023 CX-5 Signature, it's been listed for 63 days and has seen $2,500 in price reductions. I said it in last month's market report video. I think that a lot of dealerships are sort of in a wait-and-see holding pattern. You're seeing many dealerships trying to figure out how they want to navigate this tariff situation, what's going to happen economically, and where car demand currently lies. And as a result of this, you aren't seeing a ton of discounts. Sure, there are some vehicles that are discounted a few $1,000s, but truthfully, given the amount of supply that there is in the market, discounts should be quite a bit bigger, especially for these cars that are listed for over 100 days. At the same time, you're seeing dealerships on a manufacturer level changing their policies a bit to try to cope with the tariff situation a bit better. For example, Ford just recently changed their employee pricing to 0 down 0% financing. This was a promotion that they did for the sake of tariffs, and they are changing this up a bit. So I predict that over the course of Q3, you will end up seeing these types of changes from a variety of manufacturers, which will absolutely have an impact on the used car market as well. But it is of my opinion that right now is probably one of the worst times to buy a car in 2025, and there are a few reasons why. First is the fact that, as I mentioned, dealerships and car sellers are sort of in a bit of a holding pattern, and they aren't super eager to lower prices, despite the fact that they probably should. But secondly is the fact that we just ended the second quarter, and we are now officially in the third. And while sure, there are incentives throughout the summer and the end of the month, we aren't going to see those major incentives until closer to the end of Q3, and we aren't going to see really aggressive incentives until the end of Q4. We are already beginning to see vehicle sellers lay off of incentives altogether, a trend that I expect to have seen reversed in the month of June, but I think will continue throughout July and August. And cars are still very, very expensive. And so to me, what this data shows us is that the car market, at least short term, has flipped. And I believe that this will probably continue short term. As a result of this, paired with lackluster incentives, I would absolutely wait to buy a car, at least a few months. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.